Xavier, the GM of Impiana Hotel. Thank you for joining us today, David.
Thank you, Nordin. Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
Usually we're usually at working lunch, and usually we're sitting down at one of your nice restaurants, enjoying some of your good food. But with the MCO going on, we've got to go a little bit virtual.
That's right.
So I don't know about you, but I've got my lunch here.
Wonderful.
I've got a fish head noodle soup made by my wife. I've got an in-house chef like you do. So I'm very lucky. I'll dig into that in a short while. But thank you for joining us, David. Now, how have you gotten to where you are today, and what's going on with Impiana Hotel?
I got into the hotel business in 1990 after really college and stuff. Worked at a couple of five-star hotels and all, and joined Impiana in 2007. And today, in 2021, we actually got onto this quarantine station program as early as April 2020, when the government first started the move. So we were one of the first to actually really sign up for it, and through, of course, Malaysian Hotel Association, we got on board with the Ministry of Health to do this.
How difficult was to get part of the program? Because I know there was a lot of people who were nervous at first around this whole thing, but you guys were really leaders in this field.
Yeah, actually, very true. When we first started, there were a lot of hotels were very reluctant because everybody said, "Oh, it's a COVID hotel." That perception over time has changed, I must say. But at that time, yes, it was. But from the very beginning, the government was looking for rooms. We have 519 rooms, and we said, let's get on board. So very much the direction was to be in support of the government as a national service, really. And so from the very start of it, we were one of the first few hotels. It started off with 5, and then 10, and then 20. So right up from April last year, we've been doing this.
And I mean, for me, always. Okay, we've got a few. Hi, Shafiq, Maggie. Mine is slightly better than a lot better than Maggie, by the way, Shafiq. If Gordon Ramsay you're watching, when you do your next show, MasterChef, my wife is available. But I think one of the things that for me that I've seen in the tourism industry right now is there's a lot of stress, a lot of tension around what's going on or what's not going on. What do you see as kind of the advantage you guys bring to the table?
Well, being a quarantine station, firstly, we're able to keep the hotel open, which is very important. We've managed to retain 200 of our staff members, which again is very important to us. We are being part of a program in support of the government, and that's quite exciting. It's not easy. It's a lot of challenges that come with it being a quarantine station. But we've been doing this for a year now, and we're one of 4 premium quarantine stations in the country.
When you say your quarantine station, does that mean, for example, so I want to go into quarantine. Let's say, for example, I just had a meeting with somebody. I didn't, but just pretend. I had a meeting with someone. They tested positive, and now I'm on in a sense, the watch list of persons of interest. Do I then go to your hotel, or do I stay home, or what do I do?
Okay. Actually, no, to answer that. The quarantine stations are actually housing persons under surveillance who are returning from abroad. So whether it's a 7-day, 10-day, or 14-day, these are strictly people coming into KLIA from abroad and doing their quarantine with us. So there are 40 countries now that we require a 14-day quarantine. We started off with 14, and then 10, and then 7, and now it's back to 14 for certain countries. So it's not persons under investigation. Say if you're a close contact, that's a different arrangement. The quarantine stations where the hotels are doing it currently are really people from abroad, people coming in through KLIA.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that I saw MIDA did recently, they announced this business traveler program where a lot of the investors can come in so investors they can come into your hotel knowing that it's a top 5-star hotel right downtown and this kind of thing. So that's something that is that part of the program, or is this purely for Malaysians? And how? Because there's so many questions, David. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions for myself before other people get to ask questions. Sorry.
No worries. No, actually, Nordin, that the MEDA program was fantastic. It brings in business travelers. That's a different setup because you don't actually quarantine in a hotel. Like for us, a quarantine station, it's quarantine. You're staying in your room. You don't get to move. Whereas MEDA's program is very different. You come in, you do your test, and then you're free to do business. So that would be in a green zone. Yeah. So we wanted to do it. We wanted to participate, but being a quarantine station, we can only handle persons under surveillance (PUS) guests, which are doing quarantine. Yeah. So a big difference.
Okay. So the government has actually put together a kind of rationale around what you do as opposed to what other hotels do and what other agencies do.
That's right. Correct. The PUF program and the MEDA program are very different.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay. I first ask this question: can we still eat in your restaurant at your hotel after the MCO?
After the MCO and when we normalize business and not be a quarantine station anymore.
Okay, so there are very nice controls put in place also. I mean, that means controls are put in place, even though we can't. Actually, your buffet is really good. I remember your buffet.
Yes, thank you. Actually, for a while, Nordin, we were open because this hotel is very unique. It has 2 separate entrances. Did I lose you, or you are super still? Connection again.
Connection.
Yeah.
Biasa.
Oh, you can hear us, Anne. Okay, good. Zulaika, good question. Actually, it definitely changes the way people travel for sure.
I'm back. Thanks for hosting the show while I was gone, David. This is the problem with technology. It's awesome, but I don't know what happened. Gremlins in the system, for those who understand what gremlins are.
It happens.
Yeah. So what did I miss? Yeah. So the question I've okay. Is my picture still okay?
Picture's
All right.
good.
So, okay. Good. Okay. Cool. Where were we? I was talking about. I want to know more about the SOPs and the procedures that you guys put in place to ensure quarantine goes well. And I'm from Australia. We had a whole bunch of crazy stories coming out of Australia when the quarantines at hotels were not done properly. Thankfully, we've not seen any of those stories in Malaysia. So what do you guys do to make sure that we get it right here in Malaysia?
I think what Malaysia did very differently. We've got several agencies deployed at the hotel at any one time. Like for us, we have 22 personnel from NADMA, National Disaster Agency, from the Ministry of Health, from Civil Defence, APM, from RELA, which is our voluntary corps, and also PDRM, our police, Malaysian Police Diraja Malaysia. So these agencies stay with us. They've been with us a year, and we, as a quarantine station management team, together with our in-house operations people, led by Cairo, who's our operations manager, we manage all this. So we have all the SOPs in place. We have our red zones and green zones. We have our decontamination area. And I think that makes a difference because we have the relevant agencies in the hotel 24/7 monitoring everything that goes on. Yeah, our security team monitors every floor because people in quarantine have to stay in their rooms. They can't come out. So we've got a team of people looking at the CCTVs 24/7. And we have certain lifts that are dedicated for these floors, and people are not able to come back down. So that makes a very, very big difference in ensuring that the SOPs are adhered to, and that everybody follows the rules and do's and don'ts as much as possible.
Anne from Australia just asked about the food being served in thing. Actually, I know the food is good there, but why don't you tell me how good it is, and how is it that how do you deliver the food how does it get to the people in quarantine?
All right, a lot of food questions. Well, we have a team of people handling meals, and the meals have to be served to the floors on certain times. The challenge is getting it to the rooms warm, hot, and it doesn't sit too long. Yeah, we use bento boxes where meals are set in. Because of the procedure on having meals served into the room, and we are unable to remove items from the room under one of the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, where we don't have contact with our POS guests. So these meals are prepared. We start about 11 in the morning for lunch. Once it's all prepared, it's put into warmer boxes. Warmer boxes are sent up to the floors, and then it crosses from a green zone where we prepare the food into a red zone where we have people in full PPE, their full protective gear, on the floors delivering meals to the rooms. So there's a table outside the door. Meals are kept on the door. We ring the doorbell, so our guests open the door and take their food in. And we being a premium quarantine station, we also provide a la carte meals because you're stuck in the room, you want good food. So we've really we take this food delivery very seriously. We've provided a very nice a la carte to choose from. We've addressed dietary needs. We've addressed things like whether you're vegetarian, you want a Western meal, you want a local meal. I just want one meal a day. Things like that. We've got people with allergies, so we've got to address that as well. We've got people with preference. I don't eat rice. I only want pasta. Okay, we address that. So there's a whole list. At any one time, we have about 500 people in house. So we've got a long list, and it's all ticked. Then we have a team of people. We have a call center managing that alone, just that delivery of food alone.
So you're not just a box in that sense. Okay, just put that problem over there in that hotel. You guys are providing full service.
Full service. Actually, we even provide gym equipment to room. We install treadmills, exercise bikes, weights, yoga mats, things like that. We try to make that 7 to 14 days a lot more comfortable and manageable.
Okay, good. You should weigh people when they go in and weigh people when they go out. Just like. It's like do some psychological research and physiological research at the same time. Hi, Mariza from Jakarta. Thanks for joining, and Ibu Barak to you as well. And then one question around training, and I thought this was a good question as well. How much training? I mean, you've got 200 staff. How much training goes into keeping these people focused on the SOPs and also motivated? I mean, this I think is like, because you can get complacent, and I think this is one of the things that we've seen in the general population, and I think one area that I've kind of been thinking about myself. So I'm glad someone asked about it. The training of the people. How do you do that, and what goes on there?
Actually, that's a very good question. because we're first a quarantine station, then a hotel. We are hoteliers, but now we are managing a quarantine station with limitations on access to guests. I mean, being a hotelier, it's all about guest services, the hospitality, interaction. We're not able to do that. So when we first started, we had to get the team trained and adapted to this new change. You know, we are hoteliers, very much hoteliers.
Mm-hmm.
We want to run up to the floor and service our guests. We want to attend to everything everybody wants, but we have limited contact. You know, there's contactless check-in at the moment. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
training was very much a part of it. The pre-planning, the SOP, the standard operating procedures needed to be in place. We constantly need to remind everyone, guys, we are in a quarantine station. Your protective gear is very important. Constantly
Mm-hmm.
have your mask on, your face shields on, your PPE, your personal protective gear. And this boils down to daily briefings, meetings. We also have weekly meetings with the team that's stationed here from all the agencies, and that's handled by our operations manager, Mr. Cairo. And that's just constant. It's done 24/7. Thank God for WhatsApp. Simplifies communication now. And that has to be done. And the training is just constant.
Okay, great. Oh, that's exciting. I mean, it's good to know. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you for also joining us from Jakarta. We're getting if you're coming back from Jakarta, you know where to stay now. Maaf saya dan batin. Another question we've seen here, Rosanna, she's the editor of News Hub Asia. Thanks for joining us today, Rosanna. She asked a question around branding. You know, how is your brand? How are you managing your brand during this time? And what's going on with your brand at the moment?
Thank you, Rosanna. Very good question. You see, when we started the quarantine hotel, the quarantine station, we were solely doing that. But because the hotel is very unique, we have our separate entrances, separate lifts, separate blocks. We opened the hotel to the public. We realized that very quickly when we opened and started to have events and functions, we opened a green zone. We got our corporate clients back. We got a lot of our people, our regulars coming back to the hotel. And we realized, you know, the perception of being a COVID hotel instead of a quarantine station has changed over time, I must say. So we ended up getting all our clients back. We opened up our buffets, sorry, not really buffets, but assisted buffets, breakfast high teas. We got a lot of clients, a lot of our repeat guests coming back. So the brand was very much, I must say, very much intact. We kept, the messaging had to be right. You know, and this is where Edwin from our marketing team did a very good job on social media on really explaining the difference between a quarantine station and a quarantine center. You know, where we are open for business. There's no contact between our POS guests, and that was very important for us, right down from our management, that we remain open to the public, where our brand's out there. We don't want to be branded as closed for that. So I think very good question, something we took very seriously from day one. It was one of the main points that we really brainstormed about, ensuring the brand remains intact, because we've got properties in Thailand and Bali, and you know, we want the name Impiana to be still a full-fledged hotel. That was important, very important to us, and we saw that throughout the year we were still in contact with our corporate clients.
Nice. David, another David. There are other Davids running around, David. They put about, he asked a question about disinfection stations and who manages those stations. What is your disinfection strategy, SOPs, and what goes on there?
Okay, under the Ministry of Health, they've appointed Redicare, a third-party company that does this. Over and above that, we have our own procedures on disinfecting the place and our decon areas, decontamination stations. So that's handled by two parties. Yes, Redicare does that. They handle the decon process of check-ins, check-outs, room moves, things like that. We follow up with our own. We've got equipment. We invested in equipment to do that. just to ensure that everyone's safe. It's a time we don't take chances. Go by the book, follow the procedures, stick to the plan. Yeah, so we've done that, and so far, thank God, by the grace of God, things have been working out well.
Excellent, excellent. Now, David, we've got some questions around post-COVID-19, but before we get to that, we've downloaded your video, and I'm going to ask Diong to play the video. It's without sound, but can you run us through what's going on with this video?
Sure. Okay, that's our hotel, and this really starts the process of check-in. We've got our people at the door, face masks on. Hand sanitizers, basically really our safety procedures that we have put in place. Yeah, and that's the My Sejahtera app for contact tracing.
At our high traffic areas. To avoid unnecessary congestion, floor markers are clearly indicated to ensure social distancing upon checking in. Your key card is disinfected before being handed to you. All shared touch points, especially doorknobs, elevator buttons and handles, are regularly sanitized. Our guest rooms are thoroughly cleaned on a frequent daily basis, with maximum attention to detail for all furniture and fittings, fixed and movable. As an extra precautionary measure, rooms are allocated to new guests after a 24-hour interval following the checkout time of its previous occupant. On your writing table is our digital menu for in-room dining options. A pleasant alternative for your eating pleasure is a visit to one of our restaurants. Please allow one of our hosts to invite you to take your seat at a table which adheres to social distancing practices. Disinfected cutlery.
This was when we opened to the public, yeah, just for everybody's knowledge. It's when we had opened up for walk-in guests and stuff like that. The quarantine station procedures are a bit different from this.
Of Impiana's hygienic safety procedures. Our cleaning solutions evolve appropriately as per governmental requirements and recommendations. The time is right. We are once again ready to serve you, and we look forward to welcome you back at Impiana.
Yeah. This, back to Rosanna, your question, this was one of those safety videos we sent out to be clean and safe in welcoming back FIT guests into our green zone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Thank you for that, David. I think now I want to look to the future. You've been in the industry for quite some time. You've obviously made your mark here as well. What do you see as the future of post-COVID-19 tourism industry? How long do you think it's going to take, and what's your outlook there?
I think just as things were coming back, we've got this new strain, real spanner in the works for everyone. I think it's going to take a bit longer than expected, maybe a year or two. But after COVID, I think a lot of measures will still be in place. People are going to be very mindful of the distance, very mindful of where you stand. Hand sanitizers, I think, are going to be a norm. And things like that. People are just going to be a bit more careful, and the hotels have to really take this very seriously. We've got to ramp up cleaning, hygiene procedures, distance between chairs, limits on number of people in lifts, be it a function or no function. We've got to look at hygiene is going to be a priority for sure. And I think the more hotels focus on that, I think the more it gives people that confidence that the hotel has taken these procedures. I think today people don't mind waiting for a lift and not run into and jam the lift. And these are things, I think, moving forward into new hotels being constructed, they may want to look at a bigger lift landing area, bigger lifts, maybe more lifts, things like that, because these are things that I think the general public is going to want to look at.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think this is one of the areas I think design of hotels will change
For sure.
moving forward.
Definitely poolside areas, things like that. It's all going to be a bit more space driven, hygiene priority. There might be misting stations, things like that you want to look into. So a lot will change post COVID for sure.
Sorry, I muted myself there for a second. The poolside and the gym areas and all that kind of stuff. Is it going to be a function of design, or is it going to be a function of changing the way people enjoy those facilities?
You see, when we opened, what we did was we had schedules. We put out a list. You'd pick your time slot. So to avoid overcrowding in certain places, of course, you have the big yummy. Of course, you have your peak periods, but everybody wants to use the gym after work at 6 to 8. But we have put procedures in place to limit that. Same with pools. On the weekend, you've got kids, families. We had to do time slots so that there's no overcrowding. And I think that's going to be a norm. I think we're going to see this moving forward.
One question I had also for you was really, I mean, from the perspective of mental health, how are you guys managing mental health of like a few hundred people in your quarantine center? And what advice do you have? Because whether you're in a very comfortable hotel like yours or you're stuck at home, of course, everyone, thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. What advice do you have for those people in a quarantine situation?
I think, firstly, everybody has different expectations. You've got families, you've got the business traveler, you've got expats coming back to work. I think the mindset, my message would be that you take it as a staycation. You're coming back, it's me time, a bit of me, myself, a bit of alone time. If you think of it as confinement to four walls, it's going to drive you crazy. So I think people got to really look at it as a bit of my time before I go home. Think about the safety of the families, because I think the main move the government did this was to actually protect the general public. That you come back, you stay in, you get your swab test. So I think the mindset has to work around that. That I'm on holiday. So for that, we take things. We consider meals, guest comfort. We still really look into that. I mean, you're stuck in your room. We want to ensure that you get food that you missed. Maybe you were overseas for a long time, you missed the Malaysian food. Especially for families with kids, we try and give them rooms with a bathtub, so that at least gives the kids a bit more playtime. I think things like that helps, because you're really in a room for a while. We've got our little Impiana bear. He will keep you company if it gets too lonely. But yeah, it's really a mental state. We provide coffee machines in the room because some people really you must have that coffee, like me. So we've come up with different approaches to making your 14 days a bit better.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys are paying attention to coffee or tea for those who enjoy it. And this is one of the things that I think mindset, and attitude are so important during this crisis. And I think it's great to see you guys have thought about it and not just thought about it, doing it and kind of setting a benchmark for what's going on here in Malaysia, and hopefully other countries can also learn from how you guys are doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to. We really understand. I mean, after doing this a year, we really see all kinds of requests, and we try and improve from that. It's still a learning curve, I must say. Getting the team on board, and we have a lot of requests, and we do our best to attend to all of it. We understand how it is sitting in four walls for 7 to 10 days.
Got it. Okay, Rosanna's got another question. I hope you're going to do a nice story on this after this, Rosanna. Many hotels in the country tend to rely on international travelers and tourists. What does the market outlook look like for the hotel industry now that international borders are closed? And what are we going to look at in terms of domestic tourism versus international tourism post COVID-19. Well, when really now, what's going on now and the near future? What is horizon for you guys? What is your strategic thinking like?
You see, 2 weeks ago, I would have answered this differently. We've got a news trade now, which really changes a lot of things. So it's very difficult to say, but we've got to be always looking at what's coming out and plan for it. Really, really preparing for the worst. For us, at this point in time, we're a quarantine station. We'll continue to do that. But for the travel and tourism sector, it doesn't at this point it doesn't look very promising. So it's quite really hard to plan at this point in time, especially now, right now. 2 weeks ago, I'd have had a lot to say, but Rosanna, yeah, it's a tough one.
Okay, good. Thank you also, Agnes, for your comment, really. And of course, that's our objective of our show, A Working Lunch with Nordin, is to find the good stories and that hope that David obviously knows what he's doing and he's getting it done. And I think there are opportunities during COVID-19 for those willing to be innovative, to think, but at the same time, think within the box of the SOPs. And I think that's good. And had another question around entertainment and TV choices. How do you entertain yourself? What is the? Of course, you've got plenty of TV in your hotel, but what are the other things? What's going on there?
I think today a lot of people have Netflix. That really helps. So providing very good Wi-Fi service is crucial. We have a lot of requests for landlines, which we need to install specific devices. If you want your own personal, some people are at meetings the whole day, so they want uninterrupted Wi-Fi. And everybody knows, when you have a full house, there's only a certain amount of bandwidth that you can manage. So then we provide an individual device where you have your own dedicated line. So that would help. We've looked at increasing some channels. We've had some requests for golf and things like that. So we're continuously upgrading and improving our services to our guests, for sure.
I want to really thank you for your time today, David. We really had a really good chat and we learned a lot about what's going on with your hotel and the SOPs that are in place, what the government has done, the stakeholders that you've engaged. And we really look forward to when it's back to business as normal. I'll be back at your hotel, and we look forward to getting a chance to meet in person.
Thank you. Likewise, Nordin. Thanks for having me, and look forward to having that real lunch together.
Likewise. Until then, I better get stuck into my wife's noodle soup. And we'll see you again. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on A Working Lunch with Nordin.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time.